And we're on. Welcome back to another podcast from Nobody Cares About Dad. This week, as ever, joined by my co-host, AD. How you doing?
In the new studio, mate. Absolutely loving
New studio, new background. Yeah, it's looking good, mate.
Took over ownership yesterday. No big deal.
I should point out, if you are watching over on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button.
That's the important part as well, the subscribe, so you can keep up to date with our content.
Absolutely. Because who would want to miss it? Do you know what I mean?
Obviously, mate. We talk.
Are you good though, mate? Yeah.
Yeah, really well, mate. You?
Yeah, good. Look, we've done a number of these podcasts now since we started doing it at the start of this year, and I've taken little bits from everyone that we've had on, but this one, Tilly, is for you, the single man.
1 second.
This is not you, Siri. Shut up. Yeah, this one's for you. So look, again, actually, weirdly, this is 2 in a row from the UK. So normally we have everybody from the US, but yeah,
we're having a break. We're trying to grow our home talent, aren't we?
Keeping it stateside. So let me introduce tonight's guest, Lily. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. I'm glad to see the notebook that's already out and ready.
I'm going to take voice notes as well. Like, remember that.
Voice notes as well. Okay, we're getting very technical now.
Yeah. So Lily, you are an international dating coach. So basically, I was sort of thinking about that earlier, and that essentially, so it's your job to turn happily single men into unhappily married men. That's your job, right?
That's a very interesting insight. So I don't know if you know that I'm actually a dating coach with a bit of a twist.
Okay.
So we can actually read people better than the polygraph machine and profile people within 6 minutes or less using $30 million worth of government-backed research.
Okay.
Not your standard, dating coach.
Not Tinder.
No.
Yeah, so I did read that. I did read on the bio. I read the £30 million worth of investment, but I did wonder what that was about. So all right. So tell us the difference between your traditional dating coach or service compared to what you guys do.
So we actually use cutting edge psychology. So we understand people's behaviors, we understand the way that people interact, and we also have a way to understand if someone's compatible with someone or not. So we are I think we're the only dating and relationship coach business out there that actually offers a meet the one guarantee. And with the psychology that we have in the background, we are able to match people as quickly as 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm in the country for 3 weeks. I've got 3 weeks. Right, let's do this.
Yeah, so this stuff works.
Wow.
Okay.
How long have you been doing that? How long has this been going on for, this service?
Yeah, 3 years. So and we've been growing absolutely crazy, especially with like lockdown. I think everyone all of a sudden has appreciated connection so much more.
And people have hated the relationships they're in. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, there's that. I'm not speaking for anyone else in this part, but yeah, there's that. And then there's we talk a lot on this podcast about dating apps and how they are so difficult to negotiate for the average man. We did a podcast recently where we talked about the stats. I think it was from the Hinge app, where it said the 10% of men get all the action, and then the bottom 50% of men are left fighting over 5% of the women. It's like, what are your odds?
Yeah, and the scary thing is, 51% of people who are actually on dating apps are already in relationships anyway.
Really?
Yeah. So like, I almost like refer to online dating as like, shopping in TK Maxx. You almost have to really rummage around to be able to find someone who's compatible.
Yeah.
And who's also ready for a relationship too.
That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing.
And I think so many people have struggled with it. I think everyone's kind of like teched out after, lockdown and doing everything online. And I think that's put a lot of pressure on people to be able to just get out there and meet people and date.
And that's what we spoke about on our podcast. It was you get so comfortable just doing everything from your sofa, your bedroom, your toilet, your car, wherever, like that because it's so accessible that when you actually go out into the wide world, and now we can, it's almost like a school disco. You stood there looking at like the opposite sex, like, what do we do? Like, do I say hi, or should I just?
Oh, my friend fancies you.
Yeah, like that.
Like people have actually forgotten how to connect.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all of a sudden you put two people together and it's like, whoa, okay, you've got things like social anxiety going on. You've got the understanding the boundaries. Is it okay to approach someone? What's the best way to actually connect to someone? Are they even attracted to you in the first place? Or are you going to get rejected? Which you're going to have to emotionally recover from as well.
Well, Fez talked about that, didn't he? One of the lads we had on the podcast, he talked about it. He's a young guy. What was he, 22, 23?
23, yeah.
Yeah, he was just saying, like, you know, that's his biggest fear is rejection. Like, you just walking up to people and people almost being like, not offended that you've gone up, but like, I don't know what word he used, Tilly, but like, what was he saying? It was like, it wasn't offended, but they're like scared that you like coming near them.
Yeah, and that is it, because we spent best part of 2 years, well, nearly 2 years now in this environment where everyone is stay at home, do everything at home. All of a sudden, like you said, Lily, you kind of forget how to interact, and then it's all playing in your mind. You're going, right, what do I do? Do I say hi, or do I just leave with a joke? Do I buy him a drink? What do I do? And to Fez's point, it was more, well, if you put yourself out there, the fear of rejection is so high at the moment.
Yeah.
And now we're out and about, and it's this time of year, and everyone just wants to be, in a couple, realistically, because you want to go and do stuff and enjoy, all the coupley things.
It's not all it's cracked up to be, mate. Don't worry.
There are a few little telltale signs that you can actually look out for when you're out and about, if you wanted to go ahead and see if it's okay.
Tilly notes.
Someone. Yeah, get that notebook out. You ready?
Make a note.
So a really simple one. Have a look at where their shoes are pointing. So if someone's shoes pointing towards you, it means they've already noticed you and they're actually open for you to come over to them. So that could be a really good sign. You can also do this in business and things like that as well. So you can find out who is the decision maker by looking at the people around them and where their shoes pointing towards. So everyone's shoe would actually be pointing towards the decision maker in the group. That
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
I'm going to be walking around the club like, what's this guy doing? Get out.
But this is the thing as well. People assume that you can only meet people in clubs as well. It's like this clubs and bars thing. That's like so freaking outdated. And like you said, if you approach someone whilst you're out and about in that scenario, people are like, well, okay, why has this person brought me a drink? Because all these advertisings of like, the date rape drugs and all these different things, people have become so skeptical of receiving something that's nice. So even when we think about love, for example, I remember putting a bit of a poll in one of my Facebook groups, saying on something on the lines of, is it easier to give or receive love? And obviously loads of people put give, and one person put give because receiving, you don't know where that love's coming from. Meaning, is it manipulative? Is it from this genuine place? All these different things. So people have become so skeptical of people nowadays.
Everything's questionable. Everything you do is questionable. We look for that on a night out. So recently, on a night out, you're out with your friends, and so this scenario is a group of girls, a group of us guys, and a couple of the lads are like, again, the schoolboy. Oh, look at them, like this. And I'm the kind of person that goes, right, sod this. So I go over and I'm like, do you want to join us? And all the lads scatter. And then I'm like, it's not just me, I promise. It's not just me. But some of them are looking at you a bit like, what are you doing coming over? And that gets my back up, because I'm thinking, hang on, who put you above me to start with? Like, just calm your roll, like, chill out. I'm just coming over to see if you want to join us, if you want to drink. And it's that, I mean, I didn't even know which ways her shoes were pointing, probably inwards like this. She's probably tapping the heels, actually, trying to get away.
There's a few things that you can do to improve your chances. So, like, okay, give me what's your best chat up line as well? I want to know that before I let my secrets down.
I have to think about that. I don't really use
Really? Oh, there you go. You got to make some more notes in your notebook then.
Let me just get a bigger notebook.
He normally tells them that he's Kasper Schmeichel, the goalkeeper from Leicester.
That's what you lot say.
Oh, really?
No. No, this dates back from the night out we had in Manchester. Where they thought it was very funny to say that because there was some similarity.
Oh, dear.
No, I do not lead with, I'm Kasper Schmeichel.
No, okay. I was going to say, I can improve your chances of meeting the one really quickly otherwise.
Yeah, I bet it could, yeah.
But, okay, so silly things like, okay, if you're going to go ahead and approach people, there's a few things that are really, really important to be able to do. So number one, where you speak from is where you speak to. So if you're speaking from a nervous place, you are going to literally bring that out in the other people that you're talking to. It's a little bit like if you've got someone who's really angry and they talk to you, you're going to feel really angry all of a sudden. So it's really important to do that kind of like that little bit of a check-in. Are you in this confident place to begin with? The next thing is, have you ever heard of the eyebrow flash?
No.
I like the way your eyebrow just pinged, though. That was brilliant.
Talk to me.
So, okay, so you almost got it right. You got it half right. Both eyebrows need to come out together. So when you're approaching people, there's a psychological thing of when you flash your eyebrows up, you're basically saying, I recognize you, I'm safe to be around, and I would really like to connect with you. The nice thing, yeah, and it has this psychological effect because this is like stuff, going back to kind of the caveman era. You're basically saying, look, I'm safe to be around, you know me, we're going to have a bit of a laugh. And what you're looking for is them doing it back to you. So if you flash your eyebrows and they do it back, you automatically know that they're open to having a conversation with you. And it's simple as that.
Well, okay, you're going to have to film the next night out because I'm just going to be walking around like checking shoes out, flashing eyebrows.
Yeah. It's so interesting though, isn't it? Because I always know, like, I always feel like women notice feet. Like women look at shoes regularly, I think, but men, I don't think, often look at a woman's feet.
Not unless it's unless you've got a weird fetish. I don't walk around looking at feet.
Well, I was going to say, yeah. I don't even know where to go with that one. But it's about becoming more aware because what tends to happen, we were talking about like not many people understand how to communicate and how to connect. Well, understanding body language and understanding that element is a little bit like going from a text message to something, a phone call, to going to seeing someone in person. You've got all this extra information to be able to interact with.
Yeah.
So if you suddenly know that you can happily approach anyone with ease and have that confidence to strike up a conversation with just absolutely anyone, no matter what, how much more confident are you to be able to, go up to someone and ask someone out?
True. Very true. We need Fez on here. Listening.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a few other things as well. So hands can be a great one. What we tend to find is you want to show that you're not threatening. So make sure your hands aren't behind your back or, hands somewhere where people can't see them, because automatically that gets people's backs up because they're afraid of, okay, is this person dangerous? Is this person dangerous? So literally eyebrow flash, making sure your hands are visible at some sort of kind of thing. You don't kind of want to do jazz hands or anything like that because, and that can be a really great way to sort of lead into that conversation.
Yeah. Do you help? Is it men or women or both?
I actually help both. Yeah.
Right.
Both.
And so I guess you've got an interesting position then in helping men, because you're also helping women, so therefore you must understand what the women want to hear and how they want to be approached.
Yeah, but this is the thing. I think this is where people get lost. You know, I was talking about why we're so different from other relationship and dating coaching companies. It's because we actually allow people to be who they are.
You don't mold them. I read about your script thing.
Yeah, it's none of this like say these 10 things to make them fall in love with you, or it's not like the pickup artist industry. Funny thing is, I actually recently connected with Ross Jeffries, which is a whole nother conversation. But it's about being able to be who you are and make that authentic connection with people. Because the funny thing is, most people are fed up with the one night stands. And it's usually a bit of a cry out to help to be able to have that authentic connection with someone. People are fed up with the superficial, relationships now.
So how do you encourage somebody who is shy then? So someone who, again, I'm thinking he's getting a mention on this quite a lot, but I'm thinking of someone who wouldn't ordinarily have the confidence to walk up to somebody and strike up a conversation. Like, how do you coach them out of that?
Oh my gosh, that's a fun process, because it's not about the steps. It's not about saying, okay, you need to go and do this first. It's not like you have to go and do this. That is looking at their identity first. And that's the deeper work. Where it is that, that shy element, coming from? What's that stemming from? And usually it comes from childhood. So when we have a look at the years, like between 0 and 7 years old, we are creating our identity and the role that we play within our life. So if you were the kid that was like the people pleaser, like, oh, I'll make the cups of tea, I'll clean the table and this, that, and the other, the chances are you're going to be like that within your friendships. You're going to be like that within your job. You're going to be like that in your relationship, and probably end up in a relationship where you feel like you're taken for granted and you're going to feel resentful for being able to give so much. Let's say that you're the victim. If you're the one who's like, falling over as a kid and screaming out for attention, well, chances are you're going to be the one who's going to be telling the Jeremy Kyle kind of stories. Calling up your friends for a bit of sympathy to tell, for them to basically say how bad your life is, and probably end up in relationships which allow you to play out that story. Same with independence. If you've been praised up for being highly independent at school, you're probably going to be quite emotionally unavailable in your relationships. You're probably going to be very, kind of the lone wolf when it comes to work. Friendships, so you might have a couple of close friends and that's about it. It literally plays out on every single element of our lives. So for someone who's not got that much confidence, well, they probably don't have much confidence in their work. They probably don't have much confidence around their friends, and even with relationships, same thing again. And that can also play into the masculine and feminine dynamic. So I don't know if he's goes for women or men, but he'd probably go for more dominant partners because that's his way of being able to feel safe.
Which is probably a fair assessment, isn't it? From what he was saying, he likes
someone a bit older.
He's 23, so he likes to have an older woman. But again, I think it's more that almost somebody to look after him.
Yes.
Almost.
And this is where it becomes really toxic.
Right, okay, yeah.
Because what you actually want, when it comes to actually picking up someone who's right for you, you want to pick an equal. And the reason I say that is as soon as you go into a relationship where someone's not your equal, you end up in a parent-child dynamic. And you lose that sex drive, you lose the chemistry, you lose the passion, because all of a sudden you're either caring for someone or you feel really insecure of being in that relationship because you're not good enough. But as soon as you're in an equal partnership, all of a sudden you both feel like you're respected. You feel like you can rely on your partner. Like, oh, can you go and do this? Awesome. And you can work as a team. And that keeps that chemistry alive. That keeps that passion alive. And it keeps that dynamic. And often when relationships lose their spark, that's usually why. It's the dynamic. The dynamic's gone into this kind of weird parent-child dynamic usually. And that's what tends to cause a relationship to go into something that's quite stale.
Yeah, I've written about that in a blog I did recently about becoming a team and how the chances of success in a relationship increase when you do become that team and you get past that. So I can't remember the stats, but the statistic was it 70% of relationships don't last the first year or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And it's like that first year love is blind, isn't it? So you ignore all the warning signs and the things where even your friends would say, I'm not quite sure about that, but you don't see it, and then it's like 12 months later where you're like, actually, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like,
abort. It's that bubble, isn't it? It's that bubble we talk about. You're in this happy bubble or honeymoon period.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like metal to the pedal. You just living life. You're doing things that's not normal life.
Yeah.
Lily, is it, so obviously the number one thing that, whether people like to admit it or not, the number one thing that most people will look for in a relationship is looks when finding a partner. It's the number one. It is. No matter what people say, oh, no, I'm not into this. Shut up. It's looks, right? Obviously, when you're matching people, you're not matching on looks. You're matching on something else. What would you say the number one thing is that people should be looking at when they're picking a partner instead of what somebody looks like?
Over looks,
yeah. So I probably said the wrong words. I don't actually match people. I teach people how to go and meet the one. But what I actually teach them is, so there's 4 really important things when it comes to a healthy relationship. So the first one's compatibility, which I'll dive into in a sec. Got communication, consideration, and collaboration.
What was the third one?
Communication.
Or consideration.
Consideration.
Consideration. And so what I teach people is, when it comes to meeting the right one, is compatibility to begin with. Because that's the difference between a short-term relationship or a long-term one. Because that's the equivalent of saying, right, okay, we're both going to go to this postcode, we're going to travel in this vehicle, we're going to listen to this music. And it's kind of like this, the metaphorical life scenario for us. We're going to be heading in the right direction together. We're going to have similar life goals. We're going to have similar life rules. We're going to have similar priorities. And that's really important to be able to carry out through a relationship. Because what tends to happen, the main killers of a relationship is trust, that being broken, or expectations not being fully met. That can be hard to do when you've both had different childhoods, you've got different priorities and all these different things. So the more aligned you can get there, the less likely you're going to go through these elements of where you're going to have the trust broken or you're going to have the expectations broken.
Yeah, because we did a recent podcast on who cheats more, men or women, and that was a really interesting conversation. And actually, the feedback we got after the podcast from both men and women was actually really positive. And actually, like we talked a lot about, so from a man's perspective, people will often get into a relationship, they'll be in for so long, and then the intimacy side tends to drop off. But then, like, if you look at the rest of their life, so the family's great, kids are great, married, they get on well, the house is looked after, they get on, but they lack on the intimacy side.
Yeah.
So you'll often find men that then go and seek that intimacy elsewhere. They're not looking for another relationship, because if their relationship other than that is good, but then that breaks the trust from the other person's side. But then surely there's got to be an element from coming back that you're not quite meeting the expectation that your partner has. Do you know what I mean?
So basically, cheating is really interesting. See, couples can actually get over this, and I've coached couples to actually get over betrayal and cheating and things like that. What happens is usually, you said that chemistry and that intimacy suddenly goes. Well, that's the parent-child dynamic playing around. So when people fall into that, let's say whether it's the man or the woman that's gone into the child mode, they lose significance. So it's not intimacy that you're actually looking for, or people are looking for when they're going into, cheating or seeking other sexual partners. It's actually, I want to have someone which tells me I'm absolutely amazing. So whether it's amazing in bed, whether it's amazing physique or being attracted to, it's allowing you to feel like you're being put back on that pedestal.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's what people tend to seek when they go out and cheat or look for that connection elsewhere.
We said about that, didn't we? We said it was more like you're almost looking. So again, from the male's perspective, you want to feel appreciated, you want to feel wanted, desired, lusted after. You want all of that, and a lot of women. So from the podcast we've done, some of the feedback from women were, "What, really? Like you think like that?" And we're like, "Well, yeah. It's not one sided. Why should one person be made to feel like they're everything to that one individual when actually it's not reciprocated? It's not coming back. So it's not a two-way thing, is it?"
Exactly. It's that level. It's that level of communication that's really needed.
Yeah,
and this, going back to this thing we were saying at the beginning, most people don't know how to connect at that deep level. And the other thing that tends to happen as well is, you might have heard about this, but love languages.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they are super, super important to understand when it comes to relationships. So for those that don't really understand what love languages are, this is kind of looking at things like, physical touch, looking at words of affirmation, looking at gifts, this kind of thing, and understanding what you actually need to be able to feel loved. Because what tends to happen is the way that we want to be loved is the way that we love our partners. So in my relationship, I love physical touch and I love words of affirmation. So, being told I'm amazing and this, that, and the other, I'm like, yeah, I can't get enough of that. So that's what I'll do to talk to my other half.
Mm-hmm.
He loves to do acts of service. So I'll be feeling, naffed off at him that he hasn't told me that he loves me today, but he's brought me a load of cups of tea. And it's understanding, the different levels of the way that we communicate our love, but also understanding how to meet each other's needs as well, because that's super important. Because if your needs aren't being met in a relationship, what's the bloody point?
Yeah. Do you think that's cause of the sort of biggest breakdown is we get to that point where it's too late? So that communication part, it's too late. You go on, why have you done this? Why have you done that? Well, you haven't told me that you fancy me, you love me. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. Like there's been nothing. It's just been silence. So then people get fed up, don't they?
Yeah, and it's this level of, so I was talking about the 4 C's of a healthy relationship, so that communication piece. Sorry, compatibility, we've got communication, we've got the consideration of actually feeling considerate of each other, but this collaboration piece, which is really important. And this is a part of being a whole person, being responsible for your emotions, being responsible for your actions, being responsible for your life, your happiness, all these different things. Your partner doing the same, and then working to get together to collaborate. The biggest breakdown in relationships is usually people are unhappy and they love to blame it on their partners. And they struggle to be able to communicate, but they struggle to be able to understand themselves first. And the way I look at things is you can only connect to someone as deeply as you are connected to yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're not connected to yourself and living a life that you absolutely love, then you're going to really struggle to be happy, whether you're single or in that relationship.
Well, it's like the old saying, isn't it? If you can't love yourself, how can you expect somebody else to love you?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, we teach people how to love us. If we're being able to, okay, I'm putting myself first, doing this in my career, I'm doing this because, the hobby that I love or whatever it might be, and being able to live from that place as well as enjoying a relationship, awesome. But what most people do is they go, oh, wow, we're in a relationship now. Everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All the hobby and all this, we need to now be this codependent.
That is the because we take the piss out of lads that get in a new relationship, and you're like, where have you been? Like, you're dead to us now. Where have you been?
Well,
Because they shut everything off.
My best mate, Andy, you met Andy the other day. Yeah. And this is actually no surprise because this is exactly what he did on holiday. He got married and then just disappeared off the face of the planet. Like you literally,
like metaphorically got married. He didn't.
No. I'm saying when he was married, when he was
Oh, I
married
thought you
in
meant
real
on
life.
the last holiday.
No. So when he was married, he just disappeared off the face of the earth. Literally, you couldn't ring him, you couldn't call him, you couldn't see him. And then we went on holiday recently. He met a girl on like the first day, did exactly the same thing,
Gone.
just left us for the whole holiday.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, but I know so many lads that do that. They get in a relationship and they just gone,
They're not
vanished.
themselves anymore, and I think that then builds up. And I've used it as an excuse before. You know, I'm not being me anymore. I've lost
Well,
me.
the worst for me is when guys, you know, like you've got your mate, right? I know you, AD, right? But if you weren't you around your partner and you was like a different person, I'd just be like, that's so weird. But I know so many guys that when they're around their other, with their significant other, they're just a completely different person. You're like, who is this guy?
You're playing a role.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that is a whole other psychological issue that tends to come up. And what that is someone who, I think of the right way to put this, someone who literally doesn't know who they are. And what I mean by that, because you put it beautifully, they play a role. And when I speak to these type of people, I say, okay, so does it feel like there's almost two versions of you within you? The version of that people expect you to be, and the background version of you that's kind of screaming out, but you muffle out. So what tends to happen is they look to go ahead and please people. So as soon as they go into a relationship, they try to become the perfect partner.
Yeah.
And lose themselves in the process, and also feel really resentful in the process as well. It's usually, I don't know how deep you want to go with this stuff, because it goes pretty deep.
Dive.
So, okay, do you want to know what it actually all
Let me
is?
just
What's
get another
actually
notepad. Hang on.
So this is something that actually is something called mother enmeshment. And what this actually is when it happens particularly for men in particular, and it's when a young child doesn't have the space to be able to be themselves, and they've had to be the emotional crutch for their mothers. So what they do is they seek out those relationships where they have to be able to be the emotional crutch for their partner as well. So it's not, they're almost like the external hard drive to their partners versus being their own person.
Right.
And that's a lot of
But
when you work with someone like that, you're building up their identity. You almost
yeah.
find out, okay, the depth of who they are, and almost allowing them to integrate back into their bodies. It's a pretty deep process.
On that identity part, it also works the opposite way. Like, so I don't know if you remember this, AD, but your glorious wedding in Texas that we went to.
Hang on.
Oh dear.
Would you remember when Dan came? Dan came with his his still wife, but his new wife at the time. So our friend, we got a mutual friend from the UK. He's married an American lady, and it was the first time I'd met her, and it was the first time you'd met her as well.
Yeah.
And she came in. I was stood with you at the bar. He came over, hi mate. And she was like, "Oh hi, lovely to meet you." Blah, blah, blah. She was the nicest pie, chatting away. And then she went, "Oh, I'm just going to go to the bathroom." I don't know if you remember this. She went, "I'm just going to go to the bathroom," and she walked off. And he went, "I don't know who the fuck that is." Like, he's like, "I don't know who that is, but that is not her."
Yeah, I do remember that.
And she just played this whole act of like this super nice, friendly, woman.
And how many people do that though? Like, when we hear people say, "Oh, social media." Like we talk a lot about social media.
Yeah.
And you can portray whatever lifestyle you want to be leading in here online for people to be jealous. And when you start trying to live up to other people's lifestyle online, you're thinking, "Oh, I want that. I want to do this." Like, "Oh, I'm never going to be good enough." Then what you find out is actually their home life or personal life is utter shit. It's just falling apart. So they escape this like virtual reality almost of, I'm going to create this world, and escape that. But then that has the knock-on effect, because then when you get to know that person, you think, hang on a minute, this isn't the same person that I've seen all these posts about. You get somebody posting about their family all the time, and then all of a sudden they turn out not to be very family orientated. It's very, social media has a lot to answer for.
But it is like you said earlier. It's portraying an image that you think you want the world to see, rather than actually what you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's very few people in this world that are true to who they actually are.
Oh,
I think
massively so.
it's very few.
But that's the thing. Everyone does.
Yeah.
And a part of the work we do as a company, and this is why I partnered up with Chase Hughes within business around the behavioral profiling, is that we can actually read people within 6 minutes. And part of that process is removing their social mask so we can actually see who the person is underneath. Because as soon as we understand that person and what drives them and what their needs and fears are, we understand their behavior. And if we understand two people's behavior, we understand how compatible they are. So, and the thing is as well, is with the masks, the social masks that people wear, it's not necessarily a good thing or bad thing, because it's a level of protection that people need. Plus, we are all different around different people.
Sure.
You won't get the same version of you on a night out around your family, for example,
I don't know.
or in a work scenario.
I don't know.
We're pretty not different. Different's not the right word, but what you see, and this is why me and Marco get on so well, is because what you see with us is what you get. So my social media is all me and my son, and not in social media world, it's all me and my son. Like that's how I live my life, and there's no like hidden agenda. And this is what really annoys me so I am single and I'm trying to meet someone. I'm like, there's no surprise when you say, oh yeah, I've got a young kid. Well, if you've been stalking me, you will see I've got a young kid. And then it almost throws people, and they're like, oh okay, yeah, I did see that. And you think, well, why is it all
How did you miss it?
Yeah, why is it all changed? Yeah, exactly. Every picture is probably me and my boy, or there's something going on. And it irritates me that you can be chatting to someone and you do this whole talking stage phase, whatever you want to call it now. And then it's only like after a week or two, you're like, oh yeah, I can't make this because I'm doing this with my boy. And oh, okay, so you haven't really got time. You think, that was never not said. And it's almost like I don't know where it all comes from, because like I said, what you see is definitely what you get.
So there's two things I've noticed that pop up there. So number one, do you actually know who's right for you?
No.
I can answer that.
No. And that's one of the problems, because if you don't know who's right for you, how on earth are you going to go and bloody find them or recognize them?
He's hoping they just drop out of the sky.
Right? And the other thing is, how are you communicating that? Because what people tend to think is like, okay, if we turn around and say, I can't see you that weekend, and we end it there, regardless of whether you're saying, okay, you've got your boy that weekend or not, people think, okay, I am being rejected, and they take it personally. So following that up with, can't do this weekend because I've got my boy, but what's your week looking like? Because that opens it back up. That says, look, I really want to see you. I'm just busy that evening. And that's where people tend to go wrong.
What advice would you, so I guess to AD here then, I suppose, because people, because you just said it's important for him to find somebody, he needs to understand what he wants. So what advice do you give to people then to figure that out, to figure that out?
I've actually got a free compatibility matrix that people can download.
Put that
so
on
definitely go and check that out. It's on the website, but there's a few different areas that are super, super important. Okay, super important. So first off, What are your goals when it comes to relationship? Are you looking to have more kids? Are you looking to live in a certain part of the country? Are you looking to, I don't know, travel the world in 90 days? It doesn't really freaking matter. It's understanding who's going to be able to grow with you. And that's an awesome sign of a healthy relationship where you can grow together. Because the moment you're in a relationship where you're almost feeling restricted, it's not going to work. It's not going to last. And you're going to resent each other by the end of it. This is why I hate the word compromise in a relationship. I don't agree with it. And I prefer the collaboration, because if you work together to find out what's best for the relationship, awesome. The other thing is, if I said, okay, I want you to literally chat about something for 2-3 hours, what's the thing that you could talk passionately about for that level of time without changing the subject?
Krispy Kreme donuts.
What was that?
Krispy Kreme donuts.
So okay, let's say that, Krispy Kreme donuts, fine. It's finding someone who's also loves freaking food. Can share that interest with you. Because the moment we find something where we've got that commonality, or the funny thing is, that also feeds into the belief system, the way we prioritize things, and all these different bits and pieces. So, for example, my partner and I, we both love psychology. We happily sit there and people watch. We've watched programs like have you seen Would I Lie to You? We'll actually do it. We'll actually challenge each other to say, okay, who's telling the lie or not, using behavioral profiling. Great fun, especially after a couple of bottles of wine. So it's finding those commonalities where you can enjoy each other's company and enjoy each other's interests, because you get the best out of each other then.
See, I would say that me and my wife are the complete opposite. We have no shared interest other than our son.
So
Nothing.
What do you both prioritize? If I was going to say to you, what do you both prioritize?
Good answer.
Leo, my son.
Your son. Okay, what else?
Nothing.
So there'll definitely be comment. How long have you been together?
14 years.
Too long.
14 years. Oh dear. So okay, so you've got your son together. What was the things that really drew you both together in the first place?
Looks were a big thing.
Yeah.
Of course.
So I was going to say, okay, the way that you live life together, what are your life rules? Because there'd be even things like that would probably be in alignment. Do you say please and thank you to people? Do you believe in, I'm gonna touch a really dodgy subject here. Vaccinated or non-vaccinated? Are you both on the same side?
No, completely opposite. So I'm fully vaccinated. She's read something on Facebook that says that she shouldn't be. So yeah, so we've had arguments about that for sure.
Yeah, so it's looking for that alignment there. So I'd say definitely check out the matrix, because you'll probably find there'll be a few areas that you would be on the same side with.
So I put it like this with me and her. We grew up completely differently. Like, she was, and I tell this to her face, it's not, she was born with a silver spoon is it up her arse or in her mouth? I never remember that saying.
I can tell where you're from.
Silver spoon up her ass. Yeah, she was born with a silver spoon. You never really wanted for anything, whereas I was completely the opposite. I fought and I've crawled and fought for everything I've ever got, worked hard for it, and we've got a good life now, but it's not been easy. We come at parenting from two very different angles, but we always ultimately end up at the same goal. Yes. But we come at it very differently. Yeah, and I think we treat our life like that. Our life is also very different, but we probably come together at a certain point.
Yeah. And it's coming back to that collaboration piece. If you work well together, even if you're coming from two different angles, it's more about the intention of what you're working towards as a couple.
Sure.
And if you can do that well together, freaking awesome. And what you'd find as well, so our individual strengths and weaknesses. well, that would be the strengths and weaknesses of the relationship as well. So you'll probably find that your strengths will work really well together and your weaknesses actually work really well together as well. So if you complement each other in those areas too, that can make a really solid relationship.
So do you mean, so my strengths are her weaknesses? So I don't do the washing, she loves to do it, that sort of thing. Is that what you mean?
If you want to go that pedantic, yeah.
No, but yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
What do you think of dating apps?
Well,
Is that tea in there or is that wine?
well, no comment. But dating apps, great if you know how to use them. Most people don't know how to use them. And what I mean by that is silly things like setting up your dating profile. I had one client who said, "Oh gosh, I'm going through like a rubbish time on online dating." I said, "Right, okay. So talk to me about your profile." "Oh well, my friends put it together, and it says that I enjoy a night out and this, that, and the other." I was like, "Right, okay. Well, what do you want people to understand about you?" "Well, I love things like history." It's like, right, why isn't that on your freaking profile? People are so scared to be able to represent who they really are. And they try to become the perfect person that everyone would want to match with. And then they get frustrated with all the hey, how you doing kind of messages, which they copy and paste to respond to. So that's one place where people go wrong. The other thing is that people don't know how to read a profile properly. So, and this is a whole.
It's hard to read when you just.
Right? But this is the thing as well. Like, it's particularly important for men and women to understand how to do this, so you can avoid things like psychopathic relationships, which are a whole other ball game. So, I mean, for example, that TV presenter, I'm trying to remember her name now, that got acid thrown in her face.
I know what you mean.
Piper, that's it, yeah.
Piper, yeah.
So she only knew her boyfriend for 2 weeks at that point. Right. And so it's really important to understand. So from a dating.
Was that who did it? Was it a boyfriend that did it?
Yeah. Well, he hired someone to do that to her.
Pussy, couldn't even do it himself.
But this is psychopaths are a whole different ball game. So for me, I was stalked for 5 years by a psychopathic narcissist.
Really?
So you don't want to play around with them. But you can see whether someone's a psychopath or a narcissist from either their profile pictures or their messages. And that's what we train people to go ahead and do as well.
So what are the warning signs in the pictures then?
So a knife and a noose.
Do you know, I wish it was that simple. It'd just make everyone's life so much easier. Just have it in the bio, I am a narcissist.
I've read some that say that.
There's certainly a few different things that you can check out. So one of the main ones that you can look at is, it's called, I'm trying to think of the words now. It's looking at the empathy on the face. So, and it's, the emotional range. So what you do is you actually have a look. If they look like they're in a mugshot all the way through their profile pictures, where they're not really smiling, where it's not touching their eyes, that is a huge warning sign. I've actually got someone on my team who has worked with the police and all these different things, where he is able to deduce whether someone is a murderer, paedophile, and rapist, which is quite scary. I've actually got that out on my YouTube channel, where he actually decoded a profile for me before I allowed him on my team, because I wanted to see whether he was the real deal or not. So I found.
And you can tell that just by what people write and people look like, and
go and check it out. It's literally, you can hear him talk for 3 minutes.
What's that on?
So check out the Love with Intelligence YouTube channel, and it would be it's something on the lines of decoding a murderer or something like that. But check out the video. So I literally found the dating profile that had, all the different things from his pictures, his bio, all these different things, within just a few minutes, he came back to me, said, okay, this guy's a paedophile, he's this, he's that, and he'll talk through what he's actually seeing in that profile as well, to be able to deduce that.
And was he?
Yeah,
like, was it
absolutely right. I found that from an article. And before the guy committed that crime, he had a clean criminal background, didn't even have a parking ticket on there. So, and because that's the other thing, you know, people go ahead and do background checks. It's not enough. So if you're able to actually read someone to the point where you can understand what motivates their behavior, you're able to then understand whether that person's safe to be with, emotionally available, and also compatible with you.
Which video is that? I'm on your thing now. Which video is it?
Is it decoding a murderer? I remember it's a real black looking video.
Decoding a murderer. I'm going to watch that later after this.
Yeah, do it.
I'm interested in that. Oh, got it. Yeah, it's 9 minutes. Okay, save for later. There we go.
We'll watch that.
Yeah, we'll do a reaction to it actually.
Yeah, do it.
We'll do that. So
Yeah, that's interesting.
When you're reading because obviously when people put a description and all this blob, but half the time it is just a load. You're reading it and you think you just took that out of a book, because what you're saying in this does not match your picture.
Yes.
Yeah. I enjoy long walks in the fields and reading books.
And the pictures, they're out raving or something.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Come on,
I do it. I look at people. So I own a recruitment company. So I look at people's CVs all the time. I always go to the hobbies and stuff, and I'm like, there's no way. Like, there's no way. Some of the stuff that they put.
Yeah, but it's even interesting seeing what they put down as their strengths, or what they're looking to put forward, because even from that alone, you can see, you know, what actually drives that person's behavior. And also LinkedIn profiles, we actually got taught how to read those, where you can look at someone's face and find out the dominant side of that person. So if you were going to pitch to that person, you know which side to pitch from. And also from their profile, you can find out what they really appreciate. So if you're talking to that part of what they really appreciate, it's going to land with them better.
Yeah, rubbing that ego, isn't it?
Yeah. And everyone has it, but everyone has different needs when it comes to the ego as well, which is really important to understand.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. It's an absolute minefield to find the one or find anybody. And then when you drop all this in and the theory behind it all, it's just, so now I'm going to be looking at pictures like, hang on a minute, I'm decoding this right now. Like, what are you on about? I'll be looking at pictures now going, no.
But it comes back to this thing of like, Tony Robbins had this quote: the quality of your life is down to the quality of your communication.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so freaking true, because basically all this stuff is basically making sure that you're communicating to the right one, you're communicating in a way that really reaches people, and being able to work together to build that relationship that suits both of you.
Yeah. But it's true, like even in work, I've had people leave teams I've ran in the past, and they'll leave and you'll talk to them and they'll go, I'm leaving because of this, and you're like, why didn't you tell me? Like why didn't you? I could have sorted that. Like, I could have helped you out with this, but you've just kept your head down, scared to say anything, and you've just gone and got yourself a new job.
That's the thing. A lot of time people don't want confrontation, do they?
Yeah.
Don't want that confrontation.
It's down to self-worth. And when we have a look at identity, so what tends to happen is our identity will create the story, which creates the standards that we set for ourselves in our life, whether it comes to that job promotion, whether it comes to arguing our point, whether it comes to the type of relationships we end up in, which creates our reality of what we're living, which also feeds back to our identity.
But what about people that create that identity out of thin air? You know, the Walter Mitty types.
You can't make your identity out of. So that identity is literally created from the ages of 0 and 7.
No, but I mean like people that will, you know, sorry, maybe not identity, but it is, I suppose, identity in a way, because they create this whole backstory of things they've done and experiences they've lived or jobs they've had that just not true. And they live this lie by telling people that they've done this or they've done that.
Yeah, so that's understanding what's driving that behavior. So if that was a child that's parents that really praised up achievements and things like that, and that was the only way that they got love, well, then that's what they're going to be doing externally. They're going to be stating their achievements because they're looking for that love and healing that trauma cycle from people in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of looking at the things that makes that behavior completely obvious for them to go ahead and do.
Have you profiled us?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna be blocked from all dating sites. I know it. That'd be interesting. That would, yeah.
Yeah, it would be interesting to hear.
For another episode, then.
Yeah.
What did you deduce in 6 minutes?
From 6 minutes. Okay, so you really want to go into this then?
Yeah, hit us with it.
Okay, so I can't tell you how I've done this, but I can share with you what I can see. So,
Okay.
Mark, you love to be able to create an impact. The scariest thing for you is rejection or abandonment. And then, Addy, you love when people approve of you. And you hate it if someone dismisses you or disapproves of you.
See, I would argue with that. I'm at that age where.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Most people.
I think I'm the happiest I've been in years because I genuinely don't care what people think. And it comes across. So when I'm out, recently I went on a night out, and somebody said to me, they actually found it attractive that I was just me. I was having banter. Like anyone who knows me, you know, I'll have a laugh, I'll have a joke, I can take things serious, but I'm always making sure that everyone's happy, everyone's comfortable.
There you go. Making sure that everyone's happy.
Yeah.
And people who do that seek that level of approval, even if it's on a microscopic level, because you can see that you're really secure in your identity. Anyone can see that. But it's having that awareness of what's going to allow you to feel good when it comes to connecting with people.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that wasn't there, we wouldn't be driven for connection. And that's a biological thing. And this is the thing where it's like, oh, people ask me, okay, what do I see? This is where it becomes really difficult for people to look inwards, because we're talking about their identity, and that's the thing that we protect. That's the thing that we don't want to share with everyone.
People. Do you find that people don't recognize when? So you could go this. People go, nah, it's not.
Yeah, exactly. But the funny thing is, when you start to realize that now, and you look at the kind of interactions with people that have allowed you to feel good, you'll notice it'll either talk to your need of making an impact and feeling good and being told, wow, you've made an amazing job with this. You've done an awesome job with this. Wow, thank you so much for putting me in this job. To whether it's Addy, like in relationships, being able to say, oh, do you know what, I really appreciate you and you do such an amazing job in this area, whatever it might be. It's having that level of appreciation and approval. So it's looking at what drives our behavior. And the funny thing is, the clearer we get on that as well, it's harder to be manipulated. And this is one of the reasons why I actually get people to learn this, because it's not just about going into healthy relationships, it's also avoiding those unhealthy ones as well.
I was talking to Adi about this experiment a while back. Maybe you've seen it. Have you seen the experiment where you draw the Q on your forehead? Have you seen that? It was a
draw a Q on your forehead.
Yeah, so it was. I was watching this video, and it was a psychologist. I can't remember. It was on YouTube. It was telling me about how, and it basically like if you draw a Q like with your finger on your forehead,
right.
a capital Q, and it was like how did you draw it? Did you draw it so it was a Q to me, or it was a Q for you. So if you're looking at me, and it's supposed to tell you whether or not you're subconsciously trying to project outwards what you think people want to see, or you're happy in your own. You just do it. You're just doing it for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have a look into that one. I'm not. Yeah.
So you've learned something new today. There you go.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
okay. I'll check it out.
Drawing cues on your forehead all day.
Yeah. No, I heard that. And I just thought it was quite interesting. Because when I did it so I could see it. And I think, Adi, when you did it so I could see your cue.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many realms to...
Well, psychology is an interesting topic, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
exactly. How we read people. Body language, obviously, is a massive thing. And do you know what? I think not enough people pick up on body language, especially out and about socially, whether it's nights out, whether it's dinner, whether it's having a coffee, going to the shop, whatever. Sometimes you have to know when to go, okay, like, I'll just leave that person to it, because they're not either in a place to accept anything or willing to.
You want to hear a last tip then on how to see if someone's fully engaged and open to have a conversation or not?
Go on.
Blink rate.
Blink rate.
Yeah. So what we're looking for with blink rate, on average, people will blink 12 times per minute. If they are super interested, that blink rate can go as slow as 4 blinks per minute. So if someone's not interested at all, they're going to be blinking a lot. They're going to be looking around a bit. If you're suddenly talking about the football match with a girl on a date and that blink rate goes up, change the bloody subject. And that's where people need to understand, okay, if you see that, cool, ask them a question about themselves. Ask them, and when I say ask a question, ask something that's an open question. And what I mean by that is asking how, asking what, asking where, asking who. Never ask the question why, because that's a great question to just shut someone down on. And never ask a question that will get you a sort of a yes or a no answer, because otherwise you're just going to be talking and it's going to feel like hard work.
Yeah, we've all had conversations like that.
Oh, yes.
You just get the Churchill nodding dog all the time. You're like,
yeah.
So you think, oh my God, come on.
Sometimes you have chats with some people and it's like pulling teeth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's tough.
I said this on that previous podcast. I don't even know if I could be bothered. Like if we ever broke up, I just don't even know if I could be bothered getting into the world of online dating and doing all that sort of stuff. I just couldn't be bothered. I'm gonna end up single and alone forever.
Oh dear. On a happy note.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can't end it like that, Mark. Come on. Well, look, I'm going to take note, definitely, and I'm going to do that compatibility test.
Yeah. So, Lily, where can we find you? Obviously, you've mentioned the YouTube, so Love with Intelligence. Where can we find?
Yeah, so check out our website. It's lovewithintelligence.com, and the compatibility guide is in the Meet the One guide. So go and check that. It's like 15 pages of all different things to check out when meeting someone who is right for you.
I'm going to do that compatibility test. And I'm going to get my wife to do it to see if it matches.
Yeah, good idea.
And then I'm going to pack her bags. And depending on how it turns out.
No, I didn't pack her bags.
No. Listen, Lily, it's been great speaking to you. Appreciate you coming on. You're actually only the second female we've had on the podcast.
Really?
So, yeah. So,
thank you.
So, yeah, we are looking to be a little bit more diverse.
As well, isn't it?
What was that, sorry?
It's rare we get people from the UK.
Yeah, the UK as well, yeah. It's mostly the US or Canada. But I think that comes down to, without going into it again, I just think that comes down to British people are less open to sharing their emotion and how they feel, whereas the Americans just love to tell us.
Yes.
The word you're looking for is they love drama. That's what you're looking for. It's all the TV shows are on. But no, thank you very much, Lily, for your time.
No, thank
No.
you.
Appreciate you coming on. Good speaking to you, and yeah, we'll speak to you again soon.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Lily.